process, and long ago, maybe in 2013, Asif Saab was visited my office as a journalist. So I was discussing many issues with him. So we were talking about the journalism. So I told him, why not, if you develop a culture of science journalism, because we are very lack of this. The issue was that we were conducting research and producing MPhil, PhD students, and sometime, if you see newspapers, they report, this person, blah, blah, this PhD on this topic, and he did this work. So we give that news in English, they translate in their own language, and at the end of the day, when you see the newspaper, it's a different meaning. So there's a big gap between the science and journalism. So because I did my PhD from UK, and when I see their culture there, I did postdoc from there as well. So it's quite different. And the major issue was how to understand, how to work out these words, typical words, how to convey this message. So we need the journalist that bridge the gap between the scientist and the society. Because the ultimate end user is society of any science finding. If we fail to convey the appropriate language to the society, so this is failure of science as well. So therefore, the role of the journalist was very, very important, key important. And similarly, then Asif worked on this issue, and then he founded the Science Journalism in
Science Journalism Society of Pakistan.
Science Journalism Society of Pakistan in 2015, 16? 18, yeah. So first function was arranged in the Pewter Hall, University of Peshawar. At that time I was the meritorious professor at University of Peshawar. So then work was going on. So I appreciate his efforts, and I appreciate his work hard, so that today we are sitting over here. And I hope that this will bring some changes over here. Just now I was discussing, I've discussed some, actually I prepared my slides for the multimedia, but I couldn't manage, others say I can show you that. But you see nowadays news about the COVID-19. Like I was just discussing that on WhatsApp one message is circulating. That is the people who got vaccinated, they will die within 2 years. So then I received a message from my friends, from University of Peshawar or from other friends. Is it true? I told them, yeah, if otherwise, vaccine is not for this purpose. Since long time, maybe 1900 early, Louis Pasteur was the first scientist who developed vaccines. And we are using influenza vaccine, smallpox vaccine. In childhood, you used to remember smallpox, Chichak vaccine, and many vaccines we are using. So it's not the case. So then, luckily, yesterday night I received some confirmed message as well. This is fake news. I conveyed to them, then they were relaxed. So therefore, the role of journalist is very, very important. How to sort the news, how to screen the news. Like in scientific culture, what we do that, when we do some research, we think that sometimes very good results come. So we think that may be accidental. Suppose I got 95% cure rate. So It's first chance, maybe. So then ethically I have to repeat this experiment 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Whether it is really or it was just by chance incidence. Maybe some mistake was there. So therefore, the same approach is nowadays adopted in the journalism as well. To check the news, various methods are used. So, what is science journalism? Because scientists don't know the language of the layman, of the ordinary peoples, because we use typical word. And I was discussing with the Asif Saab that you see internationally now, we got specialized journalists as well. Journalists are specialized in astrophysics, journalists specialize in medical sciences, journalists specialize in biotechnology, because lot of very terminologies are used. It's, for one journalist, it's very difficult to remember all the terminologies. They are going for specialization and going for MS and PhD as well. So, this typically involves the interaction between the scientist and the public. They make the bridge between the scientist and the public. This is the, we generally very briefly call it the science journalism. So we make about that, bridge about that. If you see what's happened in scientific laboratories, research is going on. We got some breaking novel work that is useful for the society. We have to convey this. And if you see that very big organization like NASA and FDA and big organization, they got their spokesman, PR officers. So they convert this news into simple language, in ordinary language, that is then conveyed to the journalist. The specialized journalist make a typical news. If you see the daily newspapers, you got different types of news, social news, criminal news, government news, but sometimes you see the news about the drugs, vaccines. You see the Falana doctor say that this is very good for health, Falana say this is very good for health, this is bad for health. So we press it, we bring it to press. So these news are from scientific news. These news need the scrutiny as well. What is the aim of this science journalism? Render the detailed, specific, and we use the word jargon-laden information. Jargon-laden means the information that is full of typical terminologies.
Jargon.
Yeah, jargon. Okay. So it's very. I mean, you got typical. So I was just talking that if I use word, the pharmacokinetic of the drug says bioavailability is low. No one can understand. This is jargon language. So how to convert this into news? This is the basic aim of the science journalism. All right, to convey this information to the non-scientists, people. All right, in appropriate language. So, scientific literacy encompasses facts, concepts, and methodology, if required, to everybody. All right, facts, concepts, and methodology, if required, to everybody, and interpretation and theories and scientific temper as well. I mean that people who they are interested in the scientific language, they can do this as well. So usually we use the top-down techniques, because we got information from the top and converted to the soft language, and then go to the public as well. So, therefore, it's very big responsibility on the journalist to convey the accurate and precise information. Accurate and precise information. All right. The other word is very important. Through storytelling techniques. Through storytelling techniques. Because people, they are readers of newspapers or magazine. They would not like the scientific words, scientific things, and if they are not interested in storytelling, so they will make them bore. So therefore, this is the very, very important in storytelling techniques, all right, and therefore they will, they will raise the emotions, concept of the peoples, and people take interest in science and this information. So therefore, this is the one of the major job of the journalist, accurate and precise in storytelling techniques, all right. So now if you go there, if you see, one may ask that we do need the scientist to become journalist, but it's not necessary. There are many world-renowned journalists. They are writing for very big magazine in the world, but they are not scientists basically. But they work hard in their fields, and then they become journalists and they are writing books on sciences. Their basic background is not the science. But you can, on the other hand, you can find, I was reading yesterday on net that one very famous writer, he is PhD in zoology, then he joined journalism and become science journalist after being PhD, but not in Pakistan but abroad. So this is the art. Scientists don't have art to convey this message to the people in their language. Journalists got the art, all right? So they can convey my message, our message, to the general public in their language. Because when I talk, I just check the pharmacokinetic of the drug was this. So no what is pharmacokinetics, what is know the dose of the drugs are calculated, but if journalists got this information, they can convey to this as well, all right? So, like textbook science is not a new thing, all right? So, journalists don't write on textbook science. Yes, these are well-known facts. Like you write about the AIDS, HIV, write about the malaria. Well-known articles are available. Textbooks are full of that, even in Urdu version, in school level or personal level as well. But what is the journalists focus on the frontier sciences. Okay? Frontier science is that science that is actually conducted, and its results are uncertain and unconfirmed. I mean the new findings. Like now we're talking about the cure of the AIDS, COVID-19, very burning issues. Like we're talking about the Ebola, Alzheimer's diseases. Now we're talking about the discoveries, all right, and other such. Like if some people are interested in the astronomy, they are talking about the Marie, how China reached there and what's happened there, and the China spaceship fell and fall down, and these are their news as well. So, what is the significance of this science journalism or science literacy? What sense? Science gives you the better understanding of risk and rewards that helps in making decisions. If you develop the science culture in the society, so society will be be able to talk about the risk and reward of certain processes. So, for example, you're talking nowadays, everyone is worried about their nutrition. So farma, dad ke sawal ama, daw no farma. So if you are science literate, you can choose yourself, you can make decisions. If you're going to buy a car or motorcycle, what you are looking for, what is good? The ABS there khadi wadana dekha. What is this? These are the science literacy. So this helps you to understand the problem in your daily life as well. And so it empowers the individual for critical thinking. And critical thinking involves the discover, conclude and best possible solutions of your daily life. So therefore, when we develop the culture of the science journalism, the critical thinking will be developed in society, and that will help in the better decisions making by the people. So, apart from that, science culture gives a strong foundation to the children. And the development of the science understanding will produce the curiosity in children. Why it's happening, how it will work. So we will get a better society as well. And you see some kids are very interested in sciences. When you see there's something, they ask many questions. How it will happen, and this is their science culture. They bring to ask questions here as well. All right, and so the main aim to convey the science finding and results to the general audience, but also help to distinguish between the well supported and weak conclusion studies in the light of pure studies. Just I give an example that people ask me, Chachi vaccine lagu de marshi. A typical example of that. If you see the pure studies, pure report, you will say no, not this is. All right? And if you see that, I was looking one survey, it was did in Canada. So 90% of the people in Canada like science news. This is one of the survey that I studied there. How to make news? I give two examples of the news. In previous days, Pfizer announced that their COVID vaccine had 90% efficacy rate, but their results were without publishing peer-reviewed studies. Their study was not peer-reviewed, and study was not supporting their claim. Many media covered this as well. This is the covered a glorious news. But some newspapers, all right, they say Pfizer vaccine proved 90% efficacy in the latest trial, then took companies' word for granted. But some companies like Vox and other companies pointed out some warnings that these results were from press release, not from scientific data. So this is the how you sort your news. So some newspaper directly says that Pfizer vaccines is very effective among 90%, but others say no, it's not published, not peer reviewed. All right, and therefore the study was conducted only on 94 people. So therefore, it is not very reliable news. So this is one of the major role of the science journalists to sort complete news and give the real picture to the nation, to the public. However, all right, in bad journalism, all right, this is another example. Scientific studies was on the relationship between the drinking coffee and cancer have produced inconsistent results. This was published in BMC Cancer. But if you see, these studies were inconsistent. Some researchers says that it do impact on cancer. Some say no, it's good for cancer. So therefore, a journalist should be very careful before giving press release or news. So they should check in literature. They should ask the experts whether is it possible or not possible. So therefore, one of the important issues that. So scientific approach. These are the methods provide standard procedure through which scientists gather, test and share information. Obviously, part of that should sound familiar because gathering and sharing information is what the journalists do generally. So, but there is difference between the scientific methods and journalism reporting. But this difference can be squeezed, all right, and they can work together to provide test information. So, for this purpose, reliable knowledge is a knowledge that has a high probability of being true. Reliable knowledge is the knowledge with high probability of reliable being true, and because its authenticity has been justified by reliable methods. Like in the sciences, we got some methodology to see the accuracy, precision, reliability of the methods, of the techniques. We do statistical analysis and we pass through various filters. And then we say this is workable or not. I do remember when I was writing my PhD thesis. So during writing, my professor told me, please analyze this sample again. Maybe we are doubtful if we claim something new. So be sure that after 10 months or 1 year again I am analyzing that sample. Still results are same. Then I say, okay, I am sure now the results are same. So scientists got a very big, layout. You have to follow that. Similarly, for journalists, that layout is very important as well. We got the data, information. We have to filter that information to various sources. Like we can go and study the literature, we can contact the experts, take the reviews. It is possible or not, then filter. Then visualize that. What is the vision of this? What other theory says? What other data says? And then, if all things are reliable, then a journalist can make a story in a form of story for the general public. And at the end, I will quote, a good journalist is not the one that writes what people says, but the one that writes what he is supposed to write. Thank you very much.